Welcome back to Season 6 of the Changing Earth podcast with author Sara F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson. Blending survival, fiction, and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sara F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 205, season 6, episode 5. So, hey Chen, what's up?
Hey, chin's up.
I'm trying to get rid of those darn sews. I use that so much you'd think I was a sewing machine over here. They hit the editing room floor.
Yeah, no, you let me take my hand at it. And that's a lot. You podcasters, that's a lot of work, that editing.
Yep. Yeah, and then you take that and put it into video afterwards. So that's rather time consuming as well. I've found ways to streamline it now, but I wish I could do like a full presentation for each one, but it's so my time is just gone now.
I mean, I'm new to this whole thing. I'm like, everybody knows I was a listener, right? And a reader. And so it took me like 2 hours to knock 4 minutes. Holy smokes.
Yep. And that was with good audio. That was good, clean audio that I sent you.
I didn't do any like filtering. It was all just like we had some like stumble on words or a cough I think I took out, just some stuff like that.
Yeah, it gets really challenging. Everybody's got to go over and listen to the bonus audio because we have just been putting so much on the cutting room floor because we could just talk forever.
That was too good to delete.
Right? I know. Yeah, everybody's got to get over there and check that out. See what's in the bonus information because we've been cutting good information and funny stories, things like that. Great information over there. Well, time is still very, very tight for me. Usually I do free audiobook giveaways, and I have just not have time to do that lately. Listeners out there, if you want free audiobook codes, go ahead and just shoot me a message over on Facebook, something like that. And we've got a few of those codes to give away. I gave you a few to give away. Did you get rid of them yet?
I did. I got 2 of them gone so far.
Right.
I'm being stingy with mine. You got to earn mine. You can't just shoot me an email.
Speaking of email, you got an email for the listeners so they can shoot you an email. So why don't you go ahead and share that with everybody?
Well, this is a tough one. Chin@changingearth@gmail.com.
Easy.
How did I come up with that title?
I don't know. I'm stumped. So yeah, everybody can shoot Chen over a message and get in touch with him. Go ahead and give him some harassment. That's what he needs to stay on his toes.
Give me pointers.
Yep. You're not talking enough.
Yeah. Shut up, Chen. I'm tired of listening to you.
Yeah, I'm also going to put it over on the website so everybody can go over there and but don't press me for time on that one. Like I say, I'm working on a surprise project that I'm not ready to share with everybody yet, but
I got a little inkling on it. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, so a little surprise project, and once that's all together, hopefully I'll have some more time on my hands. But you gave me a great idea last week, and I have it up available on my website, the buy 6, get a free t-shirt.
Win-win.
Exactly. If you have a loved one that's getting ready to have a birthday or something like that, you can buy them the books and you get a free t-shirt out of it. Keep the t-shirt. I don't care what you do with the t-shirt. Well, as long as you don't make it look bad.
I wore mine around. I was getting all kinds of compliments.
Yeah. I know everybody asks, like, what's that about?
Yeah.
Right? How will I survive? What are you talking about? Yeah. I like it. All right. What else do we got to talk about? You got something to talk about? I'm kind of through it. I've been doing martial arts stuff and gardening. Gardening's getting big.
Yeah, with the white picket fence made out of stuff.
Pallets. $2 pallets, $20 fence. You can't buy lumber that cheap.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I'll have to put a picture up or something for everybody.
Went on a little road trip this weekend. Had some fun. Picked up a new toy for myself, so that was all good.
New toy.
New toy, yeah. I got a new 4x4.
Nice.
Well, not new to me. But
right.
Yeah.
It's clean, though. It looks nice.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I had to get rid of the old, well, not old, but it was a 2x4, not the wood, and the truck just wasn't cutting it in 2x4 where we go on vacation. So I'm excited. It's good stuff.
I would be, that's for sure. We need a new one here eventually.
My neighbors are already. I got 2 neighbors texting me. Did you get a new car?
Yes, I did.
Good stuff.
Well, last week in the Endless Night, we caught back up with Vince as they were going south. And that's always fun. The kind of the bright side of this book.
Yeah, the view that you give us.
If you could say that.
Tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, this book was kind of dark. But that's okay. It's a good story.
Mm-hmm.
This week, we're going to catch back up with Dexter and see what's been coming of the jailbird and with all his arrogance.
Poor Dexter.
I know, he really gets the short end of the stick, so. Alrighty, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into chapter 5 of The Endless Night. Chapter 5, the morning of September 16th. Dexter sat in a cell, tapping his foot and staring at the bars. He watched days pass by outside the window with no sign of Johnny. Other prisoners came and went, but no one came for him, except the soldier that brought him food once a day. He turned his head, detecting the sound of voices in the hall. Standing up, he went to the bars to see who was approaching. The prison guard was talking to a very large man. He was dressed in all black except for a red stripe that crossed his chest diagonally. His presence dominated the guards. Uninterested in the activity, Dexter went to sit back down. He stopped, overhearing their conversation. "You're sure it's Dexter Moore?" the man questioned in a Russian accent. "I'm pretty sure, sir. His original tracker was removed, but his picture is a match," the guard replied, handing him a piece of paper. The man approached the bars with the paper in hand. His head was round and mostly bald, with a thin line of hair outlining it like a crown. It tapered down to a small beard that was tightly trimmed, and he wore a small mustache as well. The man looked at Dexter carefully, and then at the picture. He looked back and forth for a while, comparing the images. "What's your name, boy?" the man asked him. "It's just in case. There's been some kind of a mix-up, mister," Dexter said passionately. "Where's your papers?" the man asked. "They were stolen," he replied. "Convenient," the man answered. "How come you have a scar from a refugee tracking device if you're a handler?" The man paused, waiting for him to answer. When Dexter didn't, he continued his questioning. "Did you two kill your handler? Is that the body that was in the van?" "Even if you aren't Dexter Moore, you're headed to a prison facility, so why don't you just tell me the truth?" Dexter thought about his answer for too long. The man stood watching his brain work. "This is our boy. I'll take him," the Russian man declared, before Dexter could think of an answer. "Lawrence, Steve, come help me get him ready for transport," the guard ordered. 2 men approached with shackles and handcuffs in their hands. They unlocked his cell. "Be careful. This is a family of fighters. His mother's a real handful," the man stated, warning the guards. As the main guard pulled his gun out, all Dexter could focus on was the man's comment. "My mother," he thought. "Did they capture her?" "Turn around and face the wall," the guard ordered. As Dexter turned, the men approached. They cuffed his hands in front of him and put the shackles on his ankles. The guards walked him through the line of cells. Dexter craned his head to try to see if Johnny was in any of them, but he was nowhere to be found. Once outside of the facility, Dexter was led to a jeep. The guard chained him to a chain that stretched up from the floor in front of the passenger seat. "You're all set, Yuri," the guard said. "Thank you. The Supreme General will reward your efforts," Yuri replied. Yuri got in and started the jeep while Dexter sat awkwardly next to him. "Where are you taking me?" Dexter inquired. Yuri sat there staring forward, not bothering to answer the boy's question. Dexter tapped his foot lightheartedly to his own personal tune. It was his way of releasing nervous energy. "You know, this is all a crazy mix-up. I just look like Dexter Moore. I've never even met Erica Moore, Dexter insisted. You're right, I'm not a landowner, but I'm not Dexter Moore, he babbled, trying to fill the silence. Yuri reached across and struck him in the mouth with a back fist. Ow! Dexter moaned, turning his head away. Keep running it, and I'll hit it again, Yuri assured him. Dexter went to say something, and Yuri looked over at him crossly. Dexter shut his mouth and stared at the countryside going by. The miles went by endlessly. We're going to the capital, aren't we? Dexter asked, forgetting Yuri's warning. He received another backhand strike to the mouth. This time he turned and spit blood out the window. Not daring to say another word, the rest of the ride was a quiet drive through the countryside. Dexter dwelled on the comment about his mother, tapping his foot nervously. Nearing the capital city, Dexter saw huge prison facilities that the feds had constructed to house farming laborers, but they didn't stop at any of them. Yuri directed the Jeep down the highway and pulled into another fenced area. Inside there were homes. It looked like a subdivision from before the Great Quake, but most of the windows had bars on them. Dexter saw a woman staring out one of them with blank, sad eyes. Yuri pulled up to one of the barred homes and turned off the Jeep. He got out of his seat and walked around the side of the Jeep. Flinging Dexter's door open, he unlocked the chain and yanked him out by the arm. Ow, Dexter said. You could have used a please. Yuri was not amused and socked him hard in the belly. Dexter fell over coughing, and Yuri kicked him again on the ground. Dexter lay there until Yuri grabbed his arm and pulled him back to his feet. Blood trickled from his mouth as Yuri led him into the home. There was still a kitchen and a family room that looked normal, but when Yuri led him down the hallway, all of the bedrooms were converted to cells. Any problems? Another younger guy asked, approaching. Piece of pie, Yuri commented. I'm going to get TJ. The other man put Dexter in the cell. He wasn't very tall, but his muscles were huge. He took the cuffs off Dexter's wrists. Heard you might be a runner, he commented. The shackles stay on. The man left, and Dexter went to look out the window of the cell he was in. It faced out the front of the home, and he could see the cul-de-sac they pulled up in outside the window. He watched Yuri cross the expanse to another home. Minutes passed, and he emerged from the home arguing with another man. The other man's physique matched Yuri's, and although Yuri appeared very angry, he seemed subservient to the new man. The man clasped Yuri's shoulder in a sign of friendship and said something that seemed to calm him down. They approached the building Dexter was in. He studied the new man carefully. He wore a whip at his side, and his aura felt evil just watching him from there. Dexter's heart started pounding, knowing they were headed his way. A few more minutes passed, and they were standing at the cell door. Dexter's eyes were wild with fear as he looked at the man that stood before him. No problems? The man asked. No, TJ, Yuri replied. Open the door, Swenson commanded. The lock clicked as the man with Yuri jumped into action. So you're the eldest son, Swenson commented as he entered the cell. No, sir, I've been trying to tell them. This is all a big mistake, Dexter explained. Swenson chuckled at his comment. No, son, you made the big mistake when you came into the Federal Republic of America with that traitor's son, Swenson replied, amused with the boy. Dexter stared at him, not knowing what to say. Imagine, the son of Erica Moore just walking up to the guards. He laughed with his men. That takes balls, kid. Swenson went over to Yuri and whispered quietly to him. Suddenly he called out, Dexter! Dexter looked up at the mention of his name and tried to look away quickly, but Swenson was watching him, studying his reaction. It's him. Chain him up to the wall, Swenson commented. Knowing the jig was up, Dexter swayed from the man's grasp and stepped to the side. Yuri lunged forward and caught Dexter's punch as he threw it. Then his fist smashed across Dexter's face. See, he is his mother's son, Yuri declared, holding Dexter by the scruff of his neck. Give me his back, Swenson insisted. Yuri's huge hands moved Dexter towards the wall, and he chained Dexter's hands above his head. Facing the wall, he felt Yuri grab a hold of the neck of his shirt. With a giant yank, the shirt was ripped open, exposing his back. "Look at that, Yuri. Baby soft skin," Swenson commented sadistically. Dexter heard the sound of a whip crack and felt an immense burning down his back. He screamed in pain. "He wasn't even expecting it," Swenson delighted in the boy's reaction as he cracked the whip again. Dexter screamed as the whip hit him again and again. "There, now he matches his mother," Swenson said, stopping the assault. "Don't let this boy out of your sight. Do you hear me, Jeremy?" Burning in pain, all Dexter could focus on was the mention of his mother again. Now he matches his mother, he thought. Did they do this to her too? Worrying for his mother's safety, Dexter watched the men leave and lock the door. "Okay, sir, I got it," Jeremy said. "Make sure you do," Swenson insisted. Yuri takes the scene. Here he comes.
He gets a little punchy.
Yes, he does, literally. Yeah. I just know my son, like how he is when it's like that awkward moment of silence. And he's like, trying to fill, like, so what's going on? Smack. Yeah, I love that.
Just, like Erica, just be quiet sometimes.
Right? No, that's a skill that honestly I don't possess. And so Erica couldn't possess that either,
Well, it makes for a good storytelling.
I've worked hard on like trying to filter at least.
Well, at least you don't have TJ on your tail.
Right. At least they didn't have TJ in this chapter. Well, I guess they did there at the end, huh? He takes the stage there at the end.
He did.
Yeah, he does. But the little morsel that they did let slide was that Erica's still alive somewhere. And, that's kind of to their detriment there. Dexter's like, all right, now I got to just do whatever I got to do so I can get my mom out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how I'd be.
Yeah, it gives you a little glimmer of hope.
Yeah, like we can handle this as long as I could get her out of here. So, yeah.
Gives you something to focus on. Like last episode, we were talking about you had to focus on the external enemy. Well, this gives you an internal focus, positive focus.
Right, to keep yourself strong, even though you can show them a different image.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was one of the things in the hostage interview that I found really interesting. I think I've told you before, and probably all the listeners, how much I love the idea of like playing an actor in that type of role. Like you have a fake breaking point that you can show them like, oh, I'm so broken. But inside you're like, just imagining yourself just killing them and their eyes popping out of their head.
That's probably the only way you can hold it together.
Yeah, seriously. There's a really cool story about a guy who was captured in Poland by the Russians, and he was taken to one of their prison camps. And he was one of very few who survived. And they asked him, how did you make it? And he's like, they can take your home, they can take your family, they can take all your material stuff, but they can't take your spirit. So as long as you keep that alive, you can stay alive. And I'm sure that's so much easier said than done.
Yeah, especially under like torture.
Right?
And being deprived of sleep and food and everything else.
Yeah. But I really take that one to heart because, if it's hard times, the one thing that nobody can take away from you is the sense of you. So, well, we're going to find out if that's true in our topic that we're going to get into today.
Insert the next topic.
Yeah, exactly. Today I wanted to talk a little about the trackers, the microchips, and that appear in my story. And it's probably the most science fiction part of my stories that exist. And I've never really expounded upon the realities of that item because they are kind of science fiction-y, but not really
far-fetched. No.
Right. So yeah, that and the thermal cloak. The thermal cloak I was like, that'd be so cool if you could design a cloak that did the thermal tech so you could hide from the drones.
You should rule the world, Sarah. Get to work on that.
Right? I know. I need a good scientist. I'm not very mathematically inclined or scientifically intelligent. Staying on the topic of the tracker, we're not going for hunting squirrels. Yeah, we're staying focused. Right now, they are rolling out the Real ID all across the United States. And I want to start there because I kind of see this as like the first step down the slippery slope. Did you know that in 2005 that Congress passed this, the 9/11 Commission passed this Real ID thing? Did you know it when it happened?
I don't know if I knew it when it happened, but I am aware of it. I mean, it's been a thing here in South Carolina.
Yeah, like an issue.
Yeah, they've been fighting it. Yeah,
right. Yeah, California even has been fighting it and putting extensions on it, which is really impressive.
Yeah, I was shocked at all the states. One of the articles you found talked, and it listed out a bunch of states that were kind of Georgia, Virginia,
yeah,
Cali, yeah,
that they're not very hippity hop on it. And the other thing that I found interesting was last week we talked about how tyrannical elements can come into power during these moments of national weakness. Well, I would call 9/11 one of those severe moments of national weakness when everybody was like, oh, well, we'll do whatever it takes to be safe.
What's that? Patriot Act?
Yeah, right. That was kind of like a red flag to me as far as this is that slippery slope that we were just talking about. Of course, Homeland Security says, don't worry about that. That's not even true.
Yeah, they said every state was going to control their own information. It wasn't building a major data bank, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That, it's just for federal identification purposes. And, every state is going to have control of their information, all that. Yet, when you look at another article, it specifically says that the state-to-state sharing of data was required in that act. And the only thing that was capable of doing that is this company, the system that was developed by AAMVA and Cirrus Solution under contract with the motor vehicle licensing agencies, funded by who?
Who?
The federal government. Mm-hmm. So they're like, oh no, it's not a national database, yet the only one who has the capability of sharing and storing this much knowledge is the federal government. I was like, how can you say that in one article on Homeland Security and then it's clearly obvious that it is a database? Right? And that's we're going to start reality-based and get more and more tinfoil hat as this episode goes on, folks. So hang on tight.
Yeah, just an example of your slippery slope. They were going to say, South Carolinians couldn't fly without a passport unless we got on board with that for our driver's. So they're going to say, you're not forced to do it, but if you want to fly or if you want to get whatever, like a gun permit or something, they're going to say you'll have to do this. You have to get in line.
It's true. And California's already doing that. So supposedly it's already, it's only for federal building entry to enter nuclear sites and to travel by air. You have to have this Real ID. And the excuse was that everybody's state ID looks different and has different information on it. So we need a standard thing. That's how they made it seem understandable to people. Yet there's the rules around the ID are so lax. Like California's already going if you want to buy ammo, you have to have a Real ID and go through a federal background check.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Social Security was never supposed to be used for. The number was not supposed to be used for identification, right?
Right.
And now it's like you can't buy a lollipop at the drugstore without a Social Security number being had, or at least your last 4 digits.
Oh, in college, that's your number. You're not even a name. They don't even care what your name is. It's just what's your number.
And it was never supposed to be that way.
Yeah. And then the next generations get used to it, right? Mm-hmm. So the future generations are oh, it's always been that way. Who said it wasn't supposed to be that way?
Well, and we don't have to worry about government databases getting hacked, so that's a good thing.
Exactly, because they're really, really safe. And they're going to share our database with provinces of Canada and also Mexico. Because, we have people that go across borders and stuff like that. So, of course, you would want to share that information with all of them as well. That makes you feel real safe about it.
Yeah.
So these IDs comes to turn out that you need a photo to get this ID. Well, it can't be just any photo, of course. It has to be taken with facial recognition software capture imaging.
Isn't like Amazon heading up that, or they were
probably Google.
I really think I read someplace that Amazon was trying to do that for the government. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna.
Crazy.
Yeah. Now.
Tinfoil hat. That's a tinfoil hat time. Put it up. Yeah. Put on your tinfoil.
We'll look it up for the show notes.
Yeah, look it up because Google's doing tons of that in conjunction with China right now. When you're walking like through the line at the airport there, before you get up even to the counter, they already know, like, my martial arts instructor was over there and they're like, "Hello, Mr. Lovas, how you doing today?" And he's like, "How did you know that it was, oh, we already recognized you like 15 feet away." I don't know. I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I understand this. I understand the safety of it and, being able to prevent people from escaping the law or whatever. But I'm just not comfortable with that level of control.
And the evil side of people too.
Right.
Could misuse, abuse.
The TJ Swensons, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's not just like, oh,
it's
okay.
Like all the, like traffic cameras too. Yeah, it could be a great thing, but then where's it stop?
Exactly. Where does it stop? Like, oh, we saw you in your car doing this. Well, you're not supposed to even be looking at that. Oh, but, it's there.
Or why were you there?
Yeah, and then all of our birth certificate information and social security information will also be stored in that database that they're going to be sharing, with these institutions in other countries. Hello, identity theft.
You sure you're not reading another fiction novel?
I know, right?
And all your time you're reading this, right? This isn't real.
Yeah. And the more I researched it, the more I can't believe this, because currently, you can opt out of it. But all Homeland Security has to do is change that rule. It doesn't even require Congress to change that rule. And they'd be like, nope, you can't opt out. You have to have a real ID if you're a United States citizen. Yeah, I'm not. And then also, so other people do feel, like you said, that it's just a smokescreen for a national gun registry eventually. I'm sure they already have it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So, oh no. And then all like the government opposition that they brought to it, when people talk to their Congress people, they're like, oh, we have to do this. We just have to make it happen. We have to do this. Well, why? Like, last I remember, it was a democracy or a republic. You're our elected officials to represent us. Why do we have to just stand by and be like, oh yeah, this is cool? I don't know. It's kind of late now.
Oh, can you see me shaking my head right now?
I hear your frustration.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the silent, like, rumbles of like, ugh. Grr.
Come on, Chin, get back in the game, be happy. Saying it's just making me more frustrated.
It's okay. It's all going to be all right, because they told us that it's going to be all right. See?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's for my own good.
Don't even worry. Yeah, and for me, I have to like go down and get a copy of my marriage certificate that says, officially that I changed my name from my maiden name to Hathaway, just to get this document, and that'll be on file too at the DMV.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Like, all right, guys. I don't know. Slippery slope.
Yep.
Which takes us to the next topic, which addresses these implants that they're using in my story. And in the story, they're using them to track refugees with GPS. So supposedly those types of implants don't exist yet.
Yet.
Right, yet. Supposedly.
But you got it. So you could do it. Maybe not tracking like my phone does, like navigational apps on the phone. But you could track people because it could ping as you walk by a store.
Yes.
Or it pings as you walk into your place of work, or it pings because your Echo or your Dot, notices you're home. So that part could all be done.
Already.
Yeah, already.
Yeah, they just can't like type it up into a computer system and be like, oh, it's here.
Yeah, they could. I bet if somebody tried hard. Do you remember there was a thing about like the soldiers? Where was it? It was out of country. Maybe I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. But so let's just pretend it was on a base in Germany.
Okay.
But it was on a base. That they hacked into the fitness app and they could track people like running and jogging, and
yes,
they could track their movements.
Yep.
Because it was being saved by the fitness app.
Yes. The Fitbit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my son was like, they're putting nanotech in your body with that
so
Fitbit.
It's
I'm like, no.
So they're already doing that tracking. So it's
right. Well,
passive tracking, not active tracking. Right?
Your phone.
Yeah.
I mean,
so this is just the next step because they're just waiting for it to get smaller technology.
A smaller technology and more socially acceptable. Like, oh, I have to have a chip so I can it's so much easier to just get in my house.
Don't you think there's enough people right now, either the younger generation or the naive older generation, that would just, you
go for it?
Yeah, you tell great grandma that she needs it because it'll make sure she doesn't fall.
Yeah, or if she does fall,
necklaces with the little buttons on it that call for help. Well, this is, you don't have to worry about pushing a button. We can tell the gyroscope thing will know if you fell and moving, and we can send an ambulance. Wouldn't that be great, Granny?
Yep, they have some wonderful reasons for using them. Like, it'll let them know your personal ID wherever you are, so you don't have to worry about carrying a driver's license or a real ID.
Well, yeah, they do that with your phone, right? You pay with your Apple Pay or whatever. I mean, I don't, but
right?
You can just swipe your phone, and
law enforcement can use them to track felons and people on the sex offenders list and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a great idea. Ankle
bracelet things are so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know. They just get in the way. I mean, really, if you think about it. And then you could store somebody's medical history on it so that if something happened to them, just like you're saying, like the necklace, you don't have to wear like a diabetic necklace anymore.
See, if Patrick Swayze had that when he was in the movie Roadhouse, he wouldn't have to carry all his files around with him.
Exactly.
It was so much time. He'd just get beat up in a bar fight, go swipe his hand, and the doctor just take care of him.
Right? So, exactly. Like, they would know what you're allergic to immediately. They would know what medications you're on. And they would know exactly who to contact that's in your family and stuff like that.
I didn't just drop a Patrick Swayze bomb, did I?
You did.
Oh, damn.
What is like Roadhouse? Roadhouse always makes me think. Yeah. Like, when Roadhouse came out, I was too little. My mom was like, you can't watch that movie. It's not acceptable for you. So I snuck downstairs one night with my brother and we watched Roadhouse.
With the monster truck. Oh, squirrel. Sorry.
This is the boringest movie ever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We got a lot of info today. So in 98 was when they first started using it widely in animals, which was started a lot in Britain. And like one of my dogs is chipped because he came from the pound.
Yep.
So yeah, they were like, if he gets picked up again, they'd put him down because he's chipped. Okay. And then this chip that I found is crazy. It's a chip that's designed to release drugs on demand. They put it in your body and it has hundreds of reservoirs of like 1 milliliter of the drug in it. And then it can release the drug electrothermally, and it makes like this membrane break over the one to release it. And they're like, well, it makes it easier to remember when to take your doses, that like you could have it programmed into an app on your phone and then it would just auto release. So that's good, right? Because,
phones never get hacked.
Right, and it would be good with difficult patients where drug abuse is a concern. Instead of trusting people to take their own medicine.
Or difficult citizens.
Or difficult citizens that need restraint at time.
Wait, was it time to put my tinfoil hat on yet? Or is that later?
Yeah, right? We're getting there. That's why I'm saying this is like, I was like, this is crazy. They could just put that inside of you and like auto release drugs into you. Swenson would love that one.
Yeah, it's like, well, right now they have, capsules and stuff you could take with time release, but this is the next step.
Yeah, this is like a whole new, maybe they're kind of doing it. Like I saw this brand new patch for like chemotherapy and it was like a time release type thing. Maybe they're doing it instead of subdermally, like figuring out a way to do it dermally right now in that type of those patches.
So you could see good uses for this, right?
Yes.
But
you really can.
Seeing how human nature can go bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. You kind of are hesitant to take advantage of any of these options.
I don't trust it for sure.
Yeah.
One that was interesting was the monitoring of athletes to avoid doping.
Yeah, the Olympics. I saw that.
Yes. So you could put it in the athlete's body.
So you don't have to, but if you want to compete.
Exactly. It's optional. However.
You can stay home or you can wear the country's colors and go compete.
Yeah, and that way too, like you can monitor people that are on parole for drug abuse. You could also put it into them. And then that way you can make sure that they're not on their drugs again too. So of course it's a very useful thing right there.
Like you said, there's always a little bit of truth.
I know.
You go down that rabbit hole.
Well, right now they're using these chips. The most widely used use for them currently is for building access and security. So there's actually companies that are having their employees all chipped basically to be able to get access to their buildings, and then you don't have to put in a login code on your computer or anything. You just use the chip that's in your arm.
There's multiple states that are saying that an employee can't force that.
Yes. But there's a lot that aren't.
Ways around that. Well, and I'm sure there's ways around it. Right? You want to get your bonus, or you want to whatever,
Yep. Yeah, they're like, we'll give you this bonus if you do it by your own choice. So you have to sign here that it was by your own choice.
Or you'll get free health care.
Right? Yeah, because then we can monitor you all the time. So we can afford to give you that. Saves us money. So problems with these chips, the current chips, they are very hackable. It's really easy to obtain the information and even clone the chip that's in somebody to use it like you were them.
Yeah, they have the RFID chips in all kinds of credit cards and driver's license and ID cards right now. And I have to say, I wear a tinfoil hat, but I have an RFID blocker in my wallet.
Me too. I put mine inside a special case. Yeah, absolutely. So the RFID stands for radio frequency. What is it? Radio frequency identification.
That's ID.
Yep. And that's just like the thing that's in your dog. It gives off a signal and it feeds back information when you scan it, basically. In 2010, Dr. Mark Gleason became the first human to be infected with a computer virus. He actually had a chip in him, and they hacked into his chip and infected the chip with a computer virus. So he was the first human being to be infected with a computer virus. Kind of interesting. I mean, it didn't do anything to him because it's just
I was trying to see what. So did he start having convulsions or what?
No, that was just like he just had an RFID chip, and they infected his chip with a virus so that it wouldn't like perform properly. And so he's just touted as like the first one that they did it on purpose.
It's stupid.
Right? I know. So, but it just shows that it can be done. So if you're, everybody's like, yeah, let's get a chip. Well, they can infect that chip with a virus so that it could send them information or be easier to access, things like that.
Well, yeah, and then if they're starting using these chips for all the medical advancements, and then they can start controlling that, you're all in all kinds of trouble, right?
Exactly. Yeah, nanotechnology is like, no. There's a movie called Gamer. And I keep trying to get Lisa to watch it because it's all about nanotech. And it's spooky stuff.
Why does Lisa's name come up every time we mention, like...
Because we're into tinfoil hat types today. That's where Lisa lives, man.
She's the best.
Yeah. The listeners will have to wait no. I don't know when it's going to air. I'm all off, but we're recording with them next weekend. So
you can't cut that. That part has to stay in. That was fun. That was entertaining right there.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. My schedule's all a jumble mess, but I know I have some stuff organized. I just have to look at my calendar. Well, this information on these chips, so there's no guarantee that it can be protected at all. And that's kind of the biggest privacy issue about this.
So there goes all your Bitcoins.
Yeah, and that's what they're using it for.
It's cool because you could just wave your hand and pay for something.
Exactly. And that was one of the things. They're like, it'll help build the cashless society. And I'm
That's why Michael Jackson had that one sparkly glove.
Yeah.
He had an implant way back then.
He had to wear it over the top so it didn't.
Yeah, it was a blocker. Now we know. Solve the mystery.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they're saying is, as far as it goes, this optional aspect of it, well, that's cool. Have it as an option, yet if you want to do all these certain things, kind of like with the Real ID, then you have to opt into it.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets.
Yeah, if it becomes too practical, an employer is going to find a way around the law to make you have it, perhaps have it. Yeah.
It's scary stuff. And some of them have been shown to give lab mice cancer.
Yeah.
So that was the big turnoff when that study came out and people were like, no.
Yeah, that made me feel bad because my dog's chip. Well, you said that your dog's chip.
Right? Yeah, my dog's chip too. Yeah. I wonder where that chip is because he has a big lymphoma. I mean, he's getting really old, but he's got a big lymphoma on his side. It's like, is that like years of buildup around that stupid chip they put in him?
No, it's usually like right at where on a person where your neck meets your shoulder blades. It's usually like right there.
Oh, okay. So it's easy to scan.
Yeah, because they have to, I mean, they can wand the whole dog, but that's usually where they put it. Ours, we have a little dog, and you can almost feel it.
Okay, Adam. Crazy.
Yeah.
So future uses, the cashless society is one thing that they're like, then we have no cash, no keys. You don't have to carry stuff around. It'll just make it way easier to use everything. And like Amazon already has the stores, right, where you can walk in and walk out and just get your products. And it'll just run your card on the way out.
Oh, I was going to say, there's a lot of stores around the country where people just walk in and walk out with product.
Yeah, that's...
But then they get chased by the cops. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Frowned upon in those.
Well, speaking of, they were saying, future uses is it would allow you to find missing persons. Yep. You can, if it was a hit and run type crime, you would know who did it because you could look at what RFID chips were in the area at the time. But then they're worried about political repression. Obviously, like somebody could use that to limit the certain amount of codes that weren't allowed to come into this area or something. And also child abusers could use it to like track down children, like where their children are at, stuff like that. But they were saying you could track people who have HIV, or like with the Ebola outbreak, stuff like that. You could track people who had these diseases so that, or for example, if you weren't immunized, you could get a chip, and that way they would be able to know exactly where you were going. So they could like give you an alert if there was that disease in the area. Exactly. I was like, okay, I don't know. This is like way bad. So this is all tinfoil hat time. Keep in mind, none of this has been implemented yet. They were just suggested future things that might be good to do with this technology. It couldn't be bad. Yeah. I've got you on a silence on this one.
Because you got me all frustrated. We can get into the good stuff, and then it's just like I said. Oh, I read about the cancer. I thought my dog's chips.
Yep. Well, and that's why I really wanted to share it. I was like, you know what? We've never done that episode before, and I did a lot of research on the chips to use them in my books and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was spooked. I put things in my books that I'm spooked about. Minus.
I got a good idea.
What's that?
This will bring me out of my funk. So, what if we had a futuristic gun that you didn't have to worry about safeties on, because I'll put a little chip in between my thumb and my forefinger, and it would only shoot if I had it. So if you tried to steal my gun and use it, it won't go off.
It wouldn't work. And then you know exactly who shot what bullet out of what gun.
Oh,
yeah, that would be great technology to have. That would keep America so safe. It's not even funny. Just forget about the liberty.
You don't have to worry about like electronics and technology not working, right?
Right. That never happens.
So it would never malfunction at that time at the bump in the middle of the night and I need it.
Yeah.
Cops are 5 minutes away and the burglar is down the hall.
Or like, there was an invasion by another country or something that might have superior technology that could turn all that off if they wanted to, so they didn't have to worry about it.
Like they block cell phone transmissions?
Yeah. This is just a scary topic.
Okay, scratch that. I don't think that's...
that's not a good idea either. Yeah. So Wisconsin and North Dakota have already made it illegal for the chip implant. Oklahoma made it illegal. Georgia and also Virginia, they have all made it illegal for companies to do forced implants. But yeah.
Want to get your paycheck?
Yeah.
Here's how we distribute the paychecks.
If you're not willing to do this, you can't be employed here.
Well,
it's your choice.
Who gets a paycheck anymore? It's all like automatic deposit.
Auto deposit, exactly. Through the chip.
You can't get a check and then go to the grocery store and cash it, or the bank and cash it anymore to have cash.
No.
Cash.
That archaic idea. Who carries cash around anymore? Come on, silly. So Washington State has gone completely the other direction. They ordered a study using RFID chips or similar technology to monitor sex offenders and felons. So they are actively doing research on how useful it could be to monitor these people with the chips instead.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Sounds like a West Coast idea. And Washington State's usually known as being free, that if they're just doing it with criminals, then that's no big deal, right? That'll make you feel real safe. Believe it or not, when you look at these chips online and you start researching about them, there's already companies that make money scanning for chip implants.
Huh?
So my question is, how are they making money scanning for chip implants if they're not in existence yet? Right?
That's interesting. Who let
Uh-huh.
that cat out of the bag?
Yeah. And it's not cheap either. It's not like it's a cheap procedure. And so these chips can be installed with a shot just like a vaccination shot.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So they're
Really
that
good
small.
deal. Yeah.
And they're just constantly getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So they're saying that, like, if it was a part of something that was given to a doctor to inject, the doctor might not even be aware that he's injecting it into his patients.
Mm-hmm.
So my mega tinfoil hat time that I was just thinking about today on my way to and from the store was, didn't it just come out that China is making like 95% of our pharmaceuticals, including our vaccinations right now?
You didn't prep me for that one.
I know.
You just smacked me upside the head with that fact.
Yup. Right?
Yeah.
So how difficult would it be for them to, say, include one of these chips in, tetanus shot or something like that every American is getting?
Frowned upon if they don't give it to their children, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's like the Chinese technology. We're now saying like government agencies can't use their smartphones and stuff. Can't use the Chinese made.
Yeah.
And the telecommunications companies, we can't use those. And if all that vaccine and stuff, wow.
Mm-hmm. Right? So I know that's like huge tinfoil hat bombshell.
Yeah, I got another bombshell. Let's go. Okay, I gotta tighten the straps on my tinfoil hat.
Okay.
So they make all the smartphones, even like iPhones made over there, right?
Right.
So we were just saying, like GPS, they can't put in the chips yet, but the
Right.
chip could ping off the phone, or the phone could have a backdoor to ping off the chip and then send the information that way. So it already could be done. Right?
That is so true.
So all
true.
your vaccination stuff could tie in with a phone and not even know it.
And not even know it.
Mm-mm.
And that can all be the mark of the beast, like hidden in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I found one article. We've got a few minutes left to go over it. And there's parts of it I was like, oh my gosh, is this for real? And parts of it that I was like, oh my gosh, is this for real? I didn't know.
I have to change my retirement strategy, I think.
Yeah. So it's about this guy that retired in Mexico. And he believes that he was implanted by a chip, and that this chip can actually cause symptoms like dementia, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's. And I found it interesting because we've had a lot of like criminals like that were like, oh well, God told me to do it or whatever.
Oh,
and
yeah. He cited that too. Some mothers.
Yes.
That killed their kids.
Right. And there was also that dude who shot up the Navy base on the East Coast that was like, I heard it from the neighboring room telling me to do it. And at the time I'm like, oh,
that was in DC.
Yeah. That was crazy. And so he's been just taking notes and basically went into it like kind of like the ancient aliens research. He started just finding people with similar experiences and documenting as much as he could about this. So he found that the operators could track his movement, hear and record conversations, which were often played back to him, apply torture to his body with like pain like pricks or electrical shock, cramping, limpness of legs, pricking in your throat to make you cough, stuff like that. Yeah. They could relay sounds to him, so like hear birds or whatnot when there was no like birds around.
Barking.
And then read his thoughts. So a reader would literally be telling him his thoughts like after he thought it. That would okay. So either he really is like loco in the cabezo, or I mean, or this stuff can happen, which would be crazy. And there's companies making money off of disarming them. And
so I'm trying. I'm tracking with the guy. I mean, I'm following him. I'm like, okay, well, okay. So he said he was citing where he thought he got it. And
right.
3 dentists or a guy in the U.S. that did hair transplants.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Kind of lost me there. So I'm trying to have
have like
work with the guy on this, and it's like why are 3 dentists and a hair plant specialist all scheming together?
And then did they? Well, I don't know. He said that it was one of those sources. It could have been any one of those sources.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, what got me too was like, well, have they positively identified like that you definitely have this chip in your body?
Yeah.
Is it the type of thing? Because I was telling Brock, I'm like, well, if they need to get it out, couldn't you just like go into an MRI or whatever and it would like suck it out of your body? I mean,
did you read the precautions he was taking?
Yeah. Total tinfoil hat.
No, it was a tinfoil hat.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He covered his whole head.
The fact that there's these companies that will locate them, but they don't know how to disarm them. Why are these companies in existence that can locate them for you? Like, are they actually successful, or are they just working off like paranoia? I don't know. Because people sold snake oil back in the day too.
I mean, it sounds like he was having. He was like a teacher or something, right? Down when he hired down there, and then he was a teacher for school or something, and like giving him a hard time and harass him and like coming to his house and so it sounds like he's having a hard time. The
evangelicals.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that's why I say there was parts of it I was like, well, this could be real, and then I'm like, well, I don't know. Like I would want to know like where. It's like let's have some documentation that the chip actually exists.
Yeah. So I was on board with the being harassed at his employment or whatever, and the kids, and I was okay. He got me. And then he dropped the evangelical, and then it was like an international scheme, right? So,
that they are closely related. I'm like, this is going more and more. This is in Lisa's alley now. We're gonna have to sick her on this mission, and she's gonna have to do some research.
And if the tinfoil hat wasn't good enough, he built a Faraday cage around his bed.
Which didn't work.
Chicken wire.
Which didn't work.
And okay, so you got me in the game again. So the frustration level's gone, and I'm enjoying the segment.
Yeah.
And then he exposes himself outside in thunder and lightning storm.
Yeah. To try and get zapped to stop the chip from working.
Yeah, didn't work though. Hasn't worked so far as of the article.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what. But I was like, okay, for real. If like a terrorist sect did get a hold of like this type of technology and
you could like zap people and do crazy stuff and make sounds, or I don't know about specific dog barking, but you could like make buzzing and humming, like what's that? Not tendonitis. What's that? Rings in your ears.
Yep, I have a lot of it.
Drive people crazy and not let them get sleep and separate.
Oh my gosh, maybe that's because I have a chip in me.
You better put a tinfoil hat on.
That's my writing demon, right? That's why it makes me write these crazy stories. No, so he's just trying to raise awareness of the situation that these chips already exist and like encourage distributors who are making these chips to be like aware of who they're selling them to. So no one want the wrong people to get a hold of them. So I get that. And then, persuading psychiatrists to, open up their mind as far as what the problems could be. And they're kind of doing that right now because they're figuring out a lot of brain, like when people were just acting wonky and stuff like that, there's actually like, it could be due to a brain tumor instead of just a psychiatric problem. So they are starting to do that a lot more.
The lady had a tapeworm, I think. They thought it was a brain tumor. It turned out to be a tapeworm. I was just reading this last week.
Oh,
Not even show prep. Yeah, and she was having headaches and she was having like visions and stuff. And
it was a tapeworm.
It was an immature. It was a baby tapeworm. Yeah.
Crazy.
In her.
See, so tell me they couldn't put a chip in there that would kind of.
It was making her like go crazy.
Yeah, I know. So that's crazy. I mean, that's just not so stuff right there. I really hope a lot of that's not true. But when you start walking the slippery slope, that's kind of where it leads to you. And that's why it's really concerning to get more comfortable with the technology, to be issuing these national type of registries and things like that. Just big concern to look out for. Alrighty.
Really a show being recorded, or I'm just hearing voices in my head?
Yeah, I think we're really recording the show.
Oh, okay, just checking.
But I think
now.
Yeah, you're just in your room talking to yourself. Your
That's
wife is
voices
wondering
in my head are telling me right now.
Yes. Oh, is that a bird?
Oh my goodness.
Alrighty. Well, on that note, let's wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for coming by and listening to the show today, getting a little bit of fact and fiction all wrapped up together in that one. And then, reach on out. Free audiobook codes are available. I've got a few different books, so hit me up and we'll see what I've got floating around. Then you can also get a hold of Chin at his new email.
I'll make you work for it.
Yeah. Be careful with that one, guys. Alrighty, and then if you'd like to become a subscriber, which I really hope you do because we're putting together some great bonus audio over there, head on over to author sarahfhathaway.com/support and you'll get hooked up there. Just go over, check out the Changing Earth stuff, and it's kind of hard to miss over there. So go over there and do that. And what else do we got? That's it. I think that's it. We're going to have Dale and Lisa with us next time, so we'll get
around my bed, so I got some stuff to do.
All right. I got some food to make. I'm a hungry girl.
Thanks.
Alrighty. So, I feel like there's something I'm missing here, but I think we're through it all. So, until next time, remember.
Thank you for joining Sara and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, The Walls of Freedom, Battle for the South, Dark Days in Denver, and The Endless Night at www.author.sarahfhathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series and podcast, become a supporter while you're there. Then head over to iTunes or Amazon and let everyone know by leaving a review.